Well, I'm here today with Fred Roberts and Jacob Moss, and both of them have been helping the IMTA build the cubes in Texas. So we wanted to kind of get some background today on what you guys have been doing, why you got involved, and let's start with you, Jacob, and maybe give us some of your background, and then we'll move on to Fred.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Fred was telling you earlier, my father started the original company back in the 90s. I wish I could give it an exact year, but he got involved with Sam Satterwhite back then and somewhere late 90s, somewhere in there, and fell in love with the log home aspect, the big timber type homes and went from there. And from the time I was a kid, we worked summers, me and my older brother, we worked summers, working with dad and working with log homes. And because by this time that's what all he was doing, is exclusively only doing log homes, because he started out as a conventional builder, and then once he went to log homes, that's all he done after that. He liked that type of building. He liked what Satterwhite was doing. He liked the mass timber, or logs, mass timber, however you want to call it. Most of us, call them log homes. So yeah, from an early age, 16, 17 years old, I've been heavily involved in it. Around 2013, I started taking over the company from my father, basically modernized it, still doing the same work, doing log homes, building, restoring, you name it. We pretty much do it all when it comes to log home. And that's all we work on. We're not the type of builder that goes out and, well, we don't have no log work this week, we're going to go build us a brick house. No, we believe in the log homes. We believe in bringing the old ones back to life, and we believe in the strength and durability and also the beautiful look of the log homes for our customers. So that's our line of work. That's what we love to do. That's what God's brought us to doing, and that's where we are. We've been doing all these years, and we're still going strong. And we're very much a family business. My mother and my sister work in the office. My dad still helps run sites and stuff like that. But he's probably on the verge of retiring at some point, but he's still out here working. So.
Well, and Fred, why don't you give us some of your background? You're in insurance, and you, Jacob, have known each other for a while. It sounds like too.
I've kind of watched old Jacob grow up in this business, and you know what? I'm going to take a second and tell anybody watching this thing, if you call Jacob Moss, you're in good hands. That's the Moss family are good people, and I'll vouch for them. I've been in the insurance business well over 30 years. Originally in the construction business, got in the insurance business, and that wasn't my dream. My dream was not that someday I'd grow up and be an insurance man. No kid out there goes, Daddy, when I grow up, I'm going to be an insurance agent. No kid does that. But I got to tell you, a friend of mine recommended me doing that, and I've had a good time. But part of that good time has been because of the good people I've met, like in the log home and mass timber business, like old Rob, and of course, I knew Jacob. But anyway, the way I got involved in the log home mass timber business was I went to one of Sam Satterwhite's. You heard of, he has these things every 6 months where there's 100, 200 people to show up, and they would talk about log home. And I'm sitting there and I'm with my bride, and we're sitting there listening to all this stuff. And well, Sam said something wrong about the insurance. So I got up, this about 15 or so years ago, maybe a little longer, and I got up at the break and I walked up there and said, Mr. Satterwhite? He goes, yeah, Frederick. He always called me Frederick. Don't ask me why. My name is Fred, but he always called me Frederick. He goes, yeah, Frederick, what do you got? I said, well, Mr. Satterwhite, what you told these people, it was wrong about a certain thing about insurance. He said, really? And I said, yeah, and Jacob can see him doing that, I promise you. And so and we talked about it. And he said, well, golly, let me ask you a question. Would you mind getting up and explaining that to these people? And I said, no, I don't mind at all. So after the break was over, he got up and he said, look, I've got an insurance man here named Fred Roberts, and he wants to tell you something about insurance. So I got up and talked and explained the correct process. And that was at least 15 years ago. And now for the last 15 years, I think, what is it? October and April, I think, I'm at Satterwhite's doing some type of talk. Next week, I'm in Pennsylvania talking to a group. And so I travel different places. I go up to Honest Aid and visit with them, and we've done different issues and different talks and so on and so forth. And insurance is one of these things. People say log homes, they go, good grief, log homes, they catch on fire. And of course, I love it when they say that because it's just the opposite. They don't catch on fire. They char first, and then it better burn for a while. And that data you sent us right here is great. I know you're going to print that stuff out. Did you read that, Jacob?
I
I
don't think
did not.
I
To
don't
be
think
honest, I did not.
You need to. It's great. It's got some great information that next week when I'm in Pennsylvania, I'll be taking the hand claps and the appraise part, but I got it from Sarah. But the thing is, what she had in there is a lot of the things that I've been telling people for years. If you want to eat a cold hot dog, try to make a hot dog out of a bunch of large timbers that won't catch on fire. You're going to eat a cold weenie. You're not going to eat a hot one. So that's just the way it works. Log homes and log people, the people with Mass Timber Association are great people to do business with. And I'm glad I introduced old Jacob to him, and I think he's going to do a lot of business with those people in the future. He's a reference. Jacob is a reference for people and
I
a good
appreciate it.
contractor. I've never had to go. I've insured a lot of his houses, and I've never had to go over there and cover something on it that he did. He's a
Oh,
good guy.
well, I wanted to ask you guys, why did you get involved with the IMTA and building the cubes? And how did that all come about?
I guess I'll go first. I really, to be honest with you, I didn't know much about the IMTA. I was referred to them by Fred and by Sashko, gentleman probably a lot of people know named Paul Peebles.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, everybody knows Paul. They started telling me about what they were doing and what the purposes of the cubes were, and I'm like, yeah, I got to be a part of this. This is going to be great for the industry. And I'll be real honest, I wasn't real sure on exactly what we were doing and how we were doing it, but Rob got into contact with me, and once I really started looking through everything, I'm like, I see their point, I see where they're going with this, and yeah, I want to be a part of it. Not only is it going to be great, it's going to give real data to our customer or to people looking to get into these types of homes or structures or anything built with mass timbers. And I get just like Fred and all of us, we get so many questions about, what's the energy efficiency of these homes? How do they hold cold and hot air? All these questions come about all the time. And I feel like the Lord is like, man, this is something I need you to do. So yeah, once we got going, it went fast and we got everything taken care of. I really love what they're trying to do and what this is going to do for our industry and for our customers and for anybody that currently lives in a mass timber home or log home. Or like, I haven't got to read what Fred read from you, but I'm sure it's great. And that's what we're looking for people asking questions.
Yeah, that came from Rob. So
Oh, did it?
so
Okay.
I just summarized it. So it was all Rob. So he is the knower of all things when it comes to that. So Fred, so how did you end up getting involved?
Well, I got involved a couple of years ago. I was involved with another group and somebody, old Grizzly Bob. Y'all know that name?
Oh yeah. I got a little snip. I got to share. I'm gonna forget it. You know where Marshall, Texas is, don't you, Fred?
I know where Marshall. Sarah don't.
Yeah, Sarah don't.
I know
It's
it from the movies.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So as where I'm sitting, Marshall, Texas is probably about 30 minutes from where I'm at. We had a job site there we done in February. After our Christmas break this year, I showed up to the job site that we're doing for some private customers, and my electrician had to meet him out there for something I can't remember. And I pull up, and my electrician's there, and there's another guy with him, and he comes up and he said, "Hey, Jacob, how you doing? I'm Grizzly Bob." Grizzly Bob was on my job site in East Texas back in right after Christmas, and lo and behold, somehow I didn't know how at the time, but him and my electricians is buddies. My electrician flies up to Michigan. Bob is the fishing guide on the fishing trip he goes on. So he's been doing it for several years, and he brought Bob down here to do some of our kind of hunting down here versus what they do up there. So yeah, there was Mr. Bob was on our site. I just couldn't believe how small of a world it was for him to be in East Texas. So yeah, I have met Mr. Grizzly Bob. Yeah.
Old Grizzly Bob, he got me connected with IMTA, International Mass Timber Association, by serving on what's called the ICC 400, which is the code for log homes and so on, mass timber, so on and so forth. And so that's how I originated. And I was going through that process, and then I got a call one day about these the cubicles, and they were building the cubicles, and I listened to it. One of the things that we find in our industry is that past the TV shows, most people don't know anything about log homes. They all wish they lived in one. They all wish they owned one, but nobody knows anything about them. And so, what is it? Oak Ridge out of Tennessee, and that group, that national group, got together with IMTA, and they started to do some testing. They were doing the thermomass testing, and log homes are rated the same way that the insulation factor is on like R19, that pink stuff you see and so on and so forth. It's rated the same way. The insurance factor of thermomass is totally different than that of fiberglass insulation. But we really didn't have anything to show or prove or anything. So they did these 3 cubicles. They did one in Tennessee. They did one in the great state of Texas. And then they did another one in that mountain state called Colorado, in Boulder, not too far from you, Sarah.
Right. It's not too far.
And what they have not come out with the total report, but I will tell you right now, I have been told that the heating and cooling factor is 20% greater than what it is with the standard insulation on a conventional home. Well, you know what that generates back to? Money in the bank. That's money. You buy a log home, you're going to save money on your utilities. So that's a major, major factor that people need to know about. That's how I got involved with the IMTA, and I'm on their board. I believe I do something with their board of directors or whatever. Unlike an organization that's standing there saying, "What can you give me? What can you give me?" The IMTA is not that. The IMTA is, "What can we give you?" And so it's really a great organization to belong to. Dues are not a factor. They want you to be a part of. And so it's really a great group of people, and they're extremely, extremely intelligent. In fact, when I'm with them, I just stay quiet because my dad said, nobody will ever know how smart you are till you open your mouth. Those guys are smart without IMTA.
Well, I've been impressed at what sort of community it is. Like you said, Jacob, it's a small community, right?
It is.
Log and timber. And so it's a good way if you're, I think, just getting started out to learn more about the industry too and network. There's just a wealth of knowledge and everybody's so friendly, which is amazing. I love that part.
Well, I remember an interview they done with Sam Satterwhite, and he always talked about building a log home, living in a log home. It wasn't just, a house you live in. It was kind of a way of life. And a lot of people that are in this industry or in a log home themselves, they'll tell you that it really is, because you get in kind of a different community of people, not that we're better than anybody else or any of that stuff. It's just, we love the log homes. And once you get into that, you kind of get it. You're like, well, yeah, this is kind of a different way of living. And even though like I've seen and worked on just about probably every log home there is, as far as manufacturers, I feel like I've probably worked on all of them just about. If I hadn't, there's not too many I hadn't. But it's the same feel whether you're Texas or Missouri, this is or wherever, it's just that log home life, as we would call it. Everybody's always great to work with, especially Fred. Me and Fred had some good conversations when I see him, and I appreciate Fred very much. He's always been good to me, and I always recommend Fred. Matter of fact, I have, like Fred said, I have my insurance with Fred and them. They do me good. And that's another aspect of the log home world. You got people like Fred taking care of your insurance, and you can call them up and talk to them, and they'll help you. They're friendly. Everybody treats you right, and it's a good feeling, and it's a good place to be. If you like that world, So it's not for everybody. I mean, that's a different place to be. But I've heard so many people say, "Man, them log homes are beautiful. I wish I had one." Jump into it like everybody else. Try it, So I don't know. I've always loved being here, and it's a great place to be, whether you're living in them, working on them, helping people restore them, whatever it is. It's always been an awesome place to be in.
I agree. Just wood in general. It feels real, and especially in the age of AI, it's just nice to have something that you can touch that is real, right?
Right.
Can you guys tell me what was the process like for you building the cubes? Because I don't think we've talked to anybody about that. Did you just finish up the cubes? I'm trying to remember from the last IMTA board meeting.
We finished the ones in Nacogdoches, Texas, approximately 2 to 3 months ago. I want to say March or April.
Okay.
And I mainly worked with Rob and Doug. Very, very great people to work with. Had no issues. They answered all my questions. Always simple solution. I like simple, and everything. We always came up with a simple solution to make it work. And there was, it was all straightforward. Is what I liked about it. The guidelines. They told me what the goals were, so that's what we focused on. Once they told me, hey, we're testing this, we're testing that, and we're getting all this data for these certain things, and this is what we need to make sure is in place, and that's what we focused on. But the builds went very well, besides all the rain. During the building process, there was a lot of rain. The last day we were there cleaning up, it was very muddy because the place, Stephen F. Austin University, I believe, donated the land, or however that works with that college. They were kind of out in the middle of a cow pasture, as we call it down here. So otherwise than that, everything went really well. We didn't really have anything construction wise that we ran into that was something that wasn't a simple procedure to move past. I know I looked through the previous cubes being built. I looked through, Rob sent me a lot of pictures, and at the end of the day, we hit all the goals they were wanting to, hit, and being sealed up and making sure everything's nice and tight and building it as perfect as possible. Even from putting sheetrock into the conventional cube, done everything just like we would do if we was built. I even called Rob and I was like, I think on the conventional cube we had 2x6 walls. I think the the plans called for like R13 insulation, and I told Rob, I said, hey. I mean, not Rob, but Doug. I said, hey, if we were going to be doing a 2x6 wall here, we would be doing R19. So he said, yes, then do it like that. We want to be as comparable to how you would build that conventional home there in Texas, as possible. We want it to be just like that, so we can have real comparable numbers between the two cubes. And I was like, that's exactly my thoughts. So every time, it was nice to be on the same wavelength as everybody else being involved in this. So I would say, that was our first time putting CLT panels together, and it went really well. So I didn't have any problems that I can remember. I mean, it was a pretty smooth construction on everything.
How are CLT panels different than traditional home building then?
Yeah, sure. So a CLT panel, the best way I can describe it is basically it's a laminated wall that's put together instead of like sheets of plywood like you would think of a laminated beam. These are put together with like 2x8 pine material. So they glued, basically offset and laminated several of these boards together to create a thick mass timber wall, basically. So it's, I believe those were 8 inches thick on those CLT panels. And it's basically a panel that is, instead of having stacking up logs or running studs across, these were panels that were the entire width of the wall that were pre-manufactured. They put the corners together just like any other mass timber would. It bumps and seals together. The joints, if you had a wall that had more than one panel, they would overlap almost like shiplap would. So it was a cool process. In doing so, you was able to seal those panels together and really get a tight fit, as well as the top and bottom being a whole panel itself. So the floor was a panel and the roof was a panel as well. So it's a solid CLT cube box. Everything's if it's not two solid panels, it's a solid panel made up of CLT. It's a very good representation of a mass timber wall. You get that thick amount of wood on there that's representing a log home or beams or any of that kind of stuff. It's a great representation of that.
It's like solid insulation versus like the traditional stick-built homes as we hear, right? Like the stick-built then would have gaps, really, when you think about it,
Right.
right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. I mean, most conventional homes now are still brick or siding. Most of them still either use fiberglass insulation, like Fred was talking about earlier, or some homes even use the foam now, open cell foam, or in walls and ceilings. Now, in our business, we do use couple foam in the ceiling joists with the log walls, because you're still going to have a conventional roof. On top of the CLT panels too, we had a conventional roof on top there, like in the pictures. But a lot of times we couple that foam insulation up there in the roof structure with the log walls and have really good results, because now we've got, in my opinion, the best insulation you could have in the roof structure, and then you have even better insulation on the walls because you got solid wood. So that's
Right.
Now I would say most manufacturers across the US, as far as I know, that's pretty close to how everybody's building log homes. You still have to have some kind of conventional roof structure on top of the logs. So I was pretty impressed with the CL2 panels. I think it was a really great representation that they could replicate, in different parts of the country like they did. Whoever's idea with that was, they done a great job.
Fred, how did you help out with the construction and stuff? Because you guys are both been on the ground.
Well, I didn't
working.
help out much at all.
What?
Now, I tell you what, all I did was encourage. I may have given them Jacob's name and phone number, and this was a situation where you couldn't just let anybody build it. Okay, you couldn't just let some guy that knew a little bit about carpenter work build it. And so we needed somebody that we knew that was experienced with working with mass timber, log home type of situation. I looked around, and I got to tell you, Jacob's name kept coming up. I think it was a smart decision. The only thing I really did that I won't ever do again was I drove my 1-ton pickup all the way to Moss, Tennessee with a gooseneck trailer, and picked up the lumber to put this thing together, drove it all the way back, which, if you didn't know, it's if you were driving a car, it would take you 2 days. And if you're driving a truck pulling a 20-foot gooseneck trailer, it'll take you 2 long days. I got back in time to get over there to Jacob and to get his yard, and I disconnected my trailer, waved goodbye, and went home because I had seen enough. But I tell you what, other than that, Jacob didn't need a bunch of overseers to do the job. He did a great job. As the old saying goes, the proof's in the pudding. And it's being proven right now by the testing that Oak Ridge and all these companies are doing, looking at those cubicles. Jacob may not realize it, but he's making a difference in the industry just by what he did.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Because I think we're collecting data for the next couple of years. So
I got to tell you a side story. Man, I saw these things. If you just looked at them, they just looked the very best container building or very best building you could ever buy. I mean, you can't get this at Home Depot. I looked at that thing and I said, what are they going to do with that thing when they finish it, when they finish the testing? Because I got to tell you, it looked good in my backyard. I could put a lot of stuff in there and it's going to last forever. But nobody accepted my offer to take them. And so I guess I'll just have to do with that. I'll have to get Jacob to build my own, but
I don't know. Maybe when they're done, you can use it as
well,
your
I'd have to
own
take my
little
gooseneck
shed.
over to Nacogdoches and pick it up.
I was going to say, Fred, on the CLT cube, I would say we could put it on a trailer, but we had to get a telehandler out there to lift each panel up, forklift it up. They're so heavy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were heavy, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we calculated like the whole building, the whole CLT panel was like 8,000 or 10,000 pounds by the time it was done.
It's not going anywhere.
No, it is not.
And
I
if
mean,
it
that's
rolls
got to stand
over,
up to good winds. Maybe the
yeah,
next testing does hurricane force winds or tornadoes, because that's like
Yeah,
impressive.
if it rolls
yeah,
over on its side, it ain't breaking apart. They'll just have to
no.
stand it back up.
Well, how does all this testing the IMTA is doing affect your guys' business? So, like, once they gather the data, how will it help you guys?
I was just going to say it's going to create that gap we've had all these years. Instead of being able to tell everybody, hey, they are better, they are more efficient, all that stuff, we'll have the data right in front of us and be able to fill that void with real numbers instead of having the people that are on the line of wanting to be into this industry or be in a log home or something like that. We'll be able to get those people across the line big time now because we'll have real numbers, which there's some people that have to see that in order to make a decision whether you're building or buying. Or I think it's going to bridge a huge gap for all of us in this industry. Just to have that data and the numbers, I think it's going to be great.
In particular, the log home industry is only 3% of the total number of homes built. This past year, I think it was 7 or 8% of all custom homes, log mass timber type homes. The only thing people knew beforehand was that if you shoot a flaming arrow into the side of it, it catches on fire and burns to the ground. That's totally not true. I've seen houses go through storms that most conventional homes wouldn't make. If they ever figure out, and Jacob's heard me say this before, if they ever figure out how to put log homes on the roof, they won't need insurance. You get past 6 inches on your logs and you've got a extremely well-built home. They're not for everybody. They're not for everybody. They're for those people that love the stars and like living in the woods and looking off the side of a mountain or looking at a lake or like, you know what? If you want to live in a high rise, go to a high rise. But I don't want to live in a high rise. I want to live in my log home and I want to sit on the porch and I want to look at the things God made, not what man made. And so until you've lived in a log home, you haven't really experienced it. This is something Sam used to say, Jacob, you can vouch for this too. You haven't had a Christmas in a long time until you've had a Christmas in a log home. And I tell you what, I put up a 14-foot Christmas tree in my house every year and lock the doors because everybody wants to come over and look at it. There's nothing like living in a log home. Physically, the ambiance, the strength of the home, all those together are just unbelievable. And I'm not just call me and I'll tell you. And if you want to know how many houses I've paid for getting caught on fire, call me and I'll let you know. I can assure you I've paid for more conventional homes than I have log homes. And so we do them all over the country, 44 states. And so the craftsmanship that these good log home builders and mass timber people are building are unquestionably some of the best out there. I think it's going to make a difference because it's going to answer the questions that a lot of people who have wanted to build a log home haven't.
Does the testing affect insurance rates at all, like going forward?
No, that's a misnomer. The
Okay.
number one thing that affects log home insurance or mass timber insurance is location. If you build on the side of a mountain at 7,000 feet, I don't care if it's brick, stone, or log, it's going to be the same price. So if you build a log home in a place that's within what they call a PPC code 5, 6, or 7, you're going to get a good rating and it's going to be good. But you've got to build in a place that's within, say, 5 miles of a fire department. But you know what, Sarah? Sometimes building with that spatial view out there, you can always rebuild a house, but you can't rebuild that view. And so, hey, spend a couple extra dollars and buy the view. You're not paying the insurance price, you're paying the view price.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe just to wrap up, what is your favorite memory in a log home?
My favorite memory of a log home, I got to tell you, I may be old because I'm sitting here thinking my favorite thing is once I said Christmas or people coming to visit, sitting on my porch. I build a log home with a porch all the way around because if the wind's blowing from the north, I go to the south and east or west, same thing. But one of the best things is the look on people's faces. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard somebody say, "You live in a log home." And I go, "Yep." And once they realize what it's like, they're blown away. I looked at one of these questions you just said. It said, "Is there anything else you'd like to add?" You know what? I want to thank the IMTA for you and for them getting you to do this stuff because you are bettering the community. And the log home industry is, I mean, you know what? There's a house in Columbus, Texas that was built with petrified stone. You know what petrified stone's made out of? Wood. Somebody asked me, what's the oldest you've ever seen a log home? About 100 years old. They're out there. And those beautiful log homes and those mass timber homes are great until you spend a little time in them, you don't know. But you get the right art. I'm gonna call it. I hate to say this about you, Jacob, but Jacob's an artisan. He does. He makes worlds better. Don't call him on Sunday. He's at church. But don't call me between 9 and 12. I'm at church. But I'm not saying that only church people live in log homes, but a bunch of us do. Get you a good builder. Pay attention to what the results from the IMTA are saying. And I'm going to tell them to get in touch with you, Sarah, because you can feed this information to them. You're gonna be excited about your log home. That's a pretty neat deal. And thank you for doing this. Thanks the IMTA for doing this. I make a living selling insurance to log homes, but I make a good living because not much goes wrong with them. And they're getting better and better. And trees are here for the duration. So that's all I got to say. I'm about ready to go feed them cows.
Oh, that's good. Jacob, how about you? What's your favorite memory in a log home?
One thing comes to mind, and I believe it was 2 years ago, we had a customer, and the big deal, doing residential log homes for private customers, it's always, when are we going to be finished? We're going to be finished by Thanksgiving or Christmas, or I want to have Christmas in the house, and I got real wise this real quick. I'll tell them, we'll see. I never make a hard deadline because God knows what can happen. But I did have one, and actually there is a video of this house we done with Satterwhite Log Homes. It was actually not far from here. It's in a little town called Hallsville, Texas, and it's called A Log Home for Christmas. This house was spectacular. The customer, well, I give her all the credit for she picked everything out, but the house was one of my favorite houses. I told the salesman on it from Saturday, I said, we got to do a video. This house is awesome. And just the message and the feedback I got from those customers telling me, hey, this is everything we ever dreamed of. This house turned out exactly like we wanted it, Jacob. We couldn't have got any more than what we have. We love it. And we made the Christmas deadline. Just hearing a customer say that, it was, getting through the leaps and bounds of just normal leaps and bounds of building a home period, and then get to the end and hearing that, it means a lot. We're all making a living doing this, but we love what we do. And I thank God for that, because, not everybody gets to do that. So it's a huge blessing to us, to be able to do what we love every day. Now, it's like anything else, not every day is perfect, but that memory popped in my head, and those are really good customers and customers I'll have for life. I guess that was one of my big things, Fred talking about Christmas and just thinking about that house. And there's been lots of memories over the years like that. I get letters in or emails, messages, all that stuff. But that one, somebody tells me like that, hey, this is everything I dreamed of. That means a lot to us.
Is there anything else you wanted to add, Jacob?
Yeah, I like Fred. I really appreciate the IMTA, and I appreciate Fred and you today. Thank you for doing this. This is beneficial to all of us. Shout out to Rob and Doug and everybody over there. They were great to work with. I appreciate Fred and all them putting their confidence and faith in me to do our part here in Texas. So I appreciate everybody very much. And most of all, thank God for blessing us with having this opportunity to be a part of this, because it's a big deal in my eyes and in Fred's eyes and all of ours that's in this industry. It's going to be huge, I think.
I think so too. And we couldn't do it without you guys. I mean, Fred, you say you didn't do much, but really we can't do it without you. It just wouldn't happen. So I really appreciate all the time, effort, driving, everything that you guys have put in.
I ain't doing it again.
Oh.